Tiago, welcome to Founder Secrets.
Hello. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Taylor was just in Porto.
Yeah, I'm in Lisbon. I'm in Lisbon.
Oh. Have you ever been to Porto?
Yes.
Have you ever climbed the bridge that Taylor was on?
Climbed?
It's the highest bridge climb, aka the only bridge climb in Europe. It's the...
I didn't even know about that.
It's you know what Airbnb experiences? I look for anything that says once in a lifetime. If it says once in a lifetime, I'll book it. If you say that, you got me. So yeah, you climb up this bridge.
You actually climb, like rock climbing, or you just climb the stairs.
It's like bridge climbing. Yeah, there's stairs. So used to in the past, there were no stairs. So it's a concrete bridge built in the 60s, and people would climb up, and then people fell and died, and they would go drinking up there. There were no fences, and the bridge is connected by these pipes. And they told us these stories about how people would run across the pipes after drinking, fall through them.
Crazy.
I was like, man, this is Portugal is a wild place, huh?
I was actually maybe like 2 years ago in Porto or something, and I also did a tour, and they didn't tell me anything about that.
You didn't get the once in a lifetime.
I didn't get the once in a lifetime, but yeah, I guess it's more accessible for me.
That's Taylor. Yeah. So look, Tiago, good to have you on the pod. Tiago founded Pod Squeeze, which I came across and just thought it was such a great product, and so I wanted to have you on and tell us, is that your full time, or is this kind of a side project that you started to use AI to generate podcast notes and tweets, etc., or what can you share about it?
So, well, I am a full-time entrepreneur or indie maker, and now most of my time is being spent on PodSqueeze for sure. And I've been doing this full time, so like indie making or indie hacking full time for 2 years, and at first it wasn't easy. I've tried a lot of projects. Most of them failed or didn't make enough money to sustain my lifestyle. And recently, more specifically,
what are some examples of those? If you don't mind sharing, what are some of those things you tried?
Well, so many things. I started with a podcast. No, actually, I started with a climate change app, an app to help people to somehow measure their actions and the impact that their actions have on their CO2 footprint. Then the podcast as well, I tried to monetize it. I have also a community for indie makers that somehow it's a byproduct of this podcast, and that I also monetized. And I don't know, I'll just can stay here for forever to just like share all the projects, but I guess those were the main ones. And then most recently I got Pod Squeeze.
What is the indie makers? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What's an indie?
You don't know?
Maker.
So indie maker, it's kind of we are all entrepreneurs, but different kind of entrepreneurs. So indie maker stands for independent. So we are independent makers, which means that we are mostly bootstrappers. We don't get any VC, any external investments. And the idea is that you try to create an online lifestyle business. Normally we are like solopreneurs or there's 2 or 3 people max. And we try to scale our companies just by, spending our time and reinvesting in our own products, but without any external investment. So that's basically what an indie hacker is. And then there's a huge community on Twitter. There's a lot of people like do the building public method. And the idea is that we basically share everything. We share our numbers, we share our frustrations, our victories and everything. And I don't know if you perhaps know Peter Levels. Peter Levels is probably one of the biggest examples. He makes, I think, 3 million a year. And he's a solo founder, and he has like 3 or 4 PHP scripts and a bunch of websites, and he makes a lot of money. And I think he's the biggest.
The Nomad List guy.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, I've heard some podcasts with him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so this is maybe kind of the space he's in. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Very cool. So how did that evolve into kind of the collection of kind of businesses you have today?
So I basically then started PodSqueeze, which was in the end of February. And it was because of GPT, because of this like AI technology. I thought, okay, this is great, something that we should definitely use this. This is very disruptive. And we decided, so it's me, myself, and my co-founder. And as I'm a podcaster myself, I thought, okay, how can we use this to help podcasters? And we came up with this idea of, okay, you upload your audio file and we use AI to transcribe and then generate a bunch of assets. So we generate descriptions, show notes, and titles and tweets and everything that you can just copy paste and repurpose your content. And since then, it's been growing quite well. We currently are at 11K MRR, so $11,000 per month, which is not bad at all, especially given that it's been only 5 months. And yeah, we are still growing, and we are just two. And that's basically our business, PodSqueeze.
That's so cool. There's a bunch of tools like this out there, but I think yours is the best. And
thanks.
I'm wondering,
me too.
How does it actually work? Do you take an audio of a podcast and then put it in the OpenAI's transcription and then use ChatGPT to say, hey, generate some tweets, and then boom, that's what shows up on my screen?
That's a very, very simplified version, which is correct. I guess a more accurate version is that we use another service to do the full transcription. And then from this transcription, we convert using OpenAI, convert into all of these assets. But we have spent countless hours tuning all of these prompts. And as well, we are building our product so that it's very much tuned to the priorities of podcast builders. So you can easily copy, you can edit the files, you can share with your teammates. And so there's a lot of things you can actually do that on top of whatever GPT can deliver.
What's the transcription service you mentioned?
That I cannot say.
What happened to build in public? What happened?
I do a lot of build in public. There's just a few things that I don't share, and my co-founder would kill me if I would share this. He's already really mad with the fact that I share a lot of things. Like, okay, that we cannot.
I love it, because you can tell a difference. What I think is very interesting is the other services you could just tell they're slightly worse. Well, I wouldn't say in the transcription, more so in the generation. Maybe the prompts you guys use are a little better, and the interface, which is kind of funny because the interface doesn't have anything to do with AI, right? That's been always a potential competitive advantage. So, and what I also appreciate is that I asked you for a free account and you refused. So it's like it's good that you stick your ground on getting paid users. So that's
you asked. Well, we have a free account. And everyone can use up to 50 minutes per month. But I guess you asked for uploading, the uploading functionality. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one comes with a paid.
Is there a cost to all of this? I guess what's your cost for an hour of a podcast transcription and the whole thing?
So at the moment, our costs are around, I believe, like we do it per minute. So you need to sum up everything, and it's around like 10 cents per minute.
So that's where you have to cap it, because if you just leave it out there open for everybody, it could just run you into the ground if people like me upload days and days of audio.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. I don't know, but then I can also ask you the same question, like why didn't you pay? It's $10, no, $15. Why didn't you pay for it?
I think there's this element of AI, and I wanted to ask you about this as well, in that it's starting to give everybody the feeling because ChatGPT is free, everything should be free. And so like, what should I pay for it when I could get it for free? There's like 5 of your competitors that I could get it for free. Sure, the interface is worse. Sure, it's not quite, as great tweets as yours, but I'm like, fuck it, it's free. And it's become like a principal thing. And I'm wondering if this is a threat to your business because of that mentality that like, well, eventually it'll all be open and free anyway. Why pay for it?
I think that if that's your mentality, then you're probably not our user. Because what most people like, our conversion rate is great, and maybe it's not for you at the moment. I'm nothing against you, obviously, just saying that maybe it's not for you, or you have other methods, which is completely fine. What we offer on top of GPT, and to answer your question, I'm not worried as GPT to be our competitor. I'm worried that GPT or OpenAI just bans us. That would be, really catastrophic for our business, because then we would need to find some other option. There are not many.
Why would they ban you?
I don't know. Like, what happened? I don't know. Well, I don't know if you followed what happened with Twitter recently, but like Elon Musk decided to, for instance, increase the prices of their API from $0 to $40,000 per month, which basically killed a lot of projects. And so that's something that, I don't know, eventually could happen. Hopefully not. But what if, Elon Musk, I think he's also somehow connected with OpenAI. What if he decides to kill it or ban everyone? I don't know. So that's, definitely something that it doesn't scare me a lot, but it kind of occupies a small part of my mind. In terms of like competition, I don't think so, because first of all, I don't think you can upload your audios. They announced that with GPT-4 you'd be able to upload your audio, but I don't think you can. Then you need to do all of this work of writing your prompts and everything. Then you couldn't copy, you couldn't edit. Plus, GPT-4 is paid. It's actually more expensive than our business. So I don't see why would people pick GPT itself.
What can you explain how you've acquired customers? Because going from 0 to 11K a month in MRR in 6 months, 5 months, is pretty remarkable. Especially with a product, you're not selling an enterprise product here. It's not like you had 4 customers pay you $3K each. To do it in this way, I think is even more remarkable. How have you gained so many customers so quickly?
So I think there's many things combined. I think, first of all, we just got the wave in the right time. And people were very excited about AI, and we definitely got that big boost because of that. Now, if we go more specifically on like the techniques we used, when we first launched, we used Reddit. I have like some followers as well on Twitter. We also used that. We also basically shared our tool in every AI directory there is, and there are a lot of them. So that was enough to get a few first paying users. Then we did a launch on Product Hunt, which also worked really well. We got second place. And then since then, we also been working a lot with cold emailing, which works really well. So we send also tons of emails, like thousands of emails per day to our users or potential users. And that's also another technique we use to get paying customers.
Wait, how do you know, like, who might be interested? Like, who's a potential user would be somebody that has a podcast, but how do you get the email of all the people who have podcasts? Is that public?
And now we are getting to another question that I cannot share. So I can tell you. First of all,
it's founder secret.
There are a few services. There are a few services that offer this. So actually, if you go online and search for database, like podcasting database or podcast database, they exist. So you just pay and you get these emails. So we started with that. Now we're using a different method, a bit cheaper than these methods. But yeah, okay, I cannot give all the way, but I can give you already some ways to get some of these emails. So then we just get and like our target customers are podcasters. Taylor said that we are a B2C, which I think is kind of true. However, we really tried to get B2B customers. And if you go to our pricing page, you'll see that we have also like more expensive tiers. We have a few businesses, so like companies that manage multiple podcasts that they use our tool too. But we organically, I guess because of the emails, we had tried more B2C. So like podcasters with one podcast or two, and they just pay the first tiers.
Well, I didn't mean necessarily you were B2C, but I now see you have the agency pricing. It's just impressive to get. I run a software company too, and I think it's more impressive to get a whole bunch of customers. I think it's harder to get a whole bunch of customers at a lower price point because the customer acquisition costs. If you're spending $10,000 to acquire a customer who pays you $20 a month, it takes a very long time to pay off the customer, and so that's just what I mean. That I think it's impressive to get to 11K. on that. So when you do that, when you email the people, and by the way, we must have shown up, this podcast must have shown up on these lists because we now get emails every day about our podcast with guests and everything else. So we must be on one of these directories now. But when you email the podcasters, do you find that they're looking for tools? Like, do you find that podcasters are savvy? Like, do they know about these AI tools, or is it more you're introducing them to something they didn't even know existed?
Well, depends. If we go back to February, everything was new, and people were so amazed. Like the feedback we got from the start, it was crazy, because normally when you get a cold email, you don't like it, right? You don't appreciate it, and you're like, hey, spammer, just go away. But here, no, it was the opposite. We would get people like thanking us for the cold email. They're like, this is amazing. I'm going to fire half of my team. I was like, well, okay, that's crazy. You know, like when you have like a business and people tell you this, you're like, okay, you know, we are doing something right. So yeah, and at first people were very excited because it was something new. It's magic. Like even for us, like GPT, I think it's still magic for me. When I see what it's able to do, I'm used to that now, but I don't comprehend it. So people are really amazed. And that's why I think cold emails really worked. It's a very simple cold email that basically says, hey, our tool does this. If you want to try it, here's the link. And most people just like it. And nowadays it's different because we have many competitors. There's a lot of other competitors out there. And then people say like, yeah, in AppSumo, I got this other competitor, and my current service is now doing this as well. But a lot of people as well say like, we tried many products and yours is the best. Like also because of what you mentioned, like our UI is quite good, intuitive, our results are good. So that's why I said like, I probably were on the top of the list of many of these tools, because I don't know, that's at least the feedback I get from some of our users.
I just want to say, it seems like you know a lot. Did you run a business of this size before, or is this your first business to reach this level of revenue?
First.
So then, you speak with like, well, you have more knowledge than us in some of these areas, and we've run several businesses. So it seems like you acquired a level of knowledge about entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
Quite quickly. Like where did you learn all of this?
Maybe I just pretend really well.
Maybe it's all Twitter.
Yeah.
They open sharing on Twitter.
Yes. Actually, it is. So I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I've been passionate about this since I remember myself. And so I consume a lot of content around it. Obviously, I worked in a big software company first, and I worked in a small like startup. So I've went through all of this. And recently I fell in love by the indie making movement and the bootstrapping. And one thing that I did, I guess, as well as you're doing, I have my own podcast. It's been 2 years since I'm doing that. And I interviewed a lot of makers, a lot, like I think probably close to 100 makers. And I met all of the questions you're making to me. I was asking them. And this was an amazing course. And I always say to people, like, if you want to learn about something, start a podcast. Because how else would you convince, experts to have 1 hour, like take 1 hour of their time where you can just ask them whatever you want? Like, if you just do this, hey, can I have 1 hour of your time? They're like, no, are you crazy? But it's like, it's for the podcast. Like, oh, then yes. It's crazy. They don't even ask me how many listens I have. I had like 15 listens when I was starting. I was like getting big people like Arvid Kohl or Peter Levels. A lot of these people came to my podcast and I got to ask them all of these questions. So I started like making patterns and understand like, okay, this person is successful. Why? This one is not. Why? What is this person doing wrong? And I've learned a lot just by doing that, and as well trial and error.
So what's kind of one big thing that you pulled out? Like, what's one pattern of a successful person versus a pattern of these people who failed?
Oh, that I cannot say. No, I'm joking. I can say this.
You have so many secrets.
Flavio's already getting too upset. Well, there's a few. The most recent one that now I think is kind of the holy grail, and I was like, yeah, it was in front of me all along, but I never really realized, was the try a lot. There's a lot of makers, especially in this bootstrapping world, that do the 12 on 12. 12 months, 12 startups. Each month you start something new. And a lot of people, like Peter Levels with Nomadlist, started like this. And a lot of people started like this. And I was interviewing everyone. I was interviewing people that didn't make it and people that made it. And was one of my interviews. His name is Mark. He started a no-code tool called Power Importer, and he was telling me, like, Tiago, once I started this business, it was completely different than anything I started before. People were lining up to use it. They were sharing the screen, sharing their passwords. They wanted to use it. And this traction was crazy. And I kind of heard that and I ignored it, and I kept going with my projects and trying to pull it and trying to grind and everything. But then when PodSqueeze started, I noticed this. I'm like, yeah, people, they want to use it. When I first launched the product, it was kind of shit. A lot of things were not working properly, but they wanted to use. So my advice is just try something. And if it doesn't have this growth from the start, just, kill it and start something new. Because especially, again, if you're an indie maker, your biggest asset, your most valuable asset is time. So you cannot waste 6 months in hopes that your little business that have 5 customers suddenly will have 1,000 customers. That won't work. So I think probably now what I advocate to most people, and of course, there's many other things, but this one I think is really crucial. Try something. If it doesn't work for the first, month, and you see that you don't find this traction, this product market fit, just stop it, or either pivot or start something completely new.
That's awesome. Is the goal with PodSqueeze, like you said, to kind of have a good income for both of you founders, and that's like the end, or do you have other goals? What do you dream of for PodSqueeze?
That's an amazing question. Something that I'm trying to figure out, Flavio, to be honest. So basically, up until February, maybe April, my life has been failures in regards to the entrepreneurial projects. So I never really thought about. So my goal was always I want to make money. I want to pay my bills. That's it. And then suddenly we start having this growth, and okay, we were able to pay our bills, really cool. And now we're making, a good paycheck, and it's still growing, and we can potentially sell it as well. So now I started to think, okay, what should be our goal, right? So that's also, by the way, I started now interviewing more people and now focusing only on that because I want to learn. So far, what I've gathered, and be aware this might change in the future, but what I want is to keep growing, but keeping my freedom, right? So I want to keep my lifestyle. I want to be able to control my hours. And if I want to stop, I stop. If I want to take some long vacations, I take some long vacations. If I want to focus on something else, I focus on something else. But at the same time, and that's my number one priority. Okay. So then close to that is the growth. So what now we want to do is keep growing our company. I'm very competitive. I want to compete with our competitors. But first of all, I want to keep the lifestyle that I want to live.
That's awesome, man. Any last? I know Taylor's got to hop on a call. Any last thoughts for entrepreneurs out there?
And be sure to plug. What would you like to plug?
I think
podsqueeze.com.
Podsqueeze.com. Follow me on Twitter at WB Tiago. You'll find my building public there. So if you have any question, you can also just DM me. And I think just as a last note, I would say for people to somehow follow their gut. There's if you're an entrepreneur, if there's something that you want to do for a long time, and somehow society tells you that it's better to get a job, think twice and think that it's possible. This can happen, and maybe you'll just find your dream job in the entrepreneurship world. So yeah, those are my last notes.
You're an inspiration.
Thank you so much.
You are an inspiration. Thank you for coming on, Tiago.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, you too.
See ya.
Fine.